8 years ago, there was a young girl who would stand back as other kids bombarded travel teams with attention. Eventually, she would make her way to the foreigners and introduce herself. As time went on, we got to know Merline and her family. She was always easy to spot in the crowd of kids with her infectious smile. As New Life for Haiti's sponsorship program matured and we were able to take on more kids, Merline was sponsored by Fran and Linda Lehman.
When we met Merline, it was in one of the little churches that we would go to church at here, and after the service, she would always come and find us, and she would just kind of hang out with us, and she wouldn't say a lot. She would, other kids would be asking us for stuff, and she would tell them, no, don't do that. And she was just kind of like this presence. She was always just kind of hanging around with us. And we began to wonder, well, who is this girl? Her family is from up in the mountains and just desperately poor, and no opportunity really to give her an education or for her to have any kind of a future. And so when we started helping her with school, she would walk down the mountains a couple of hours just to come to school because she was motivated to want to learn and to want to do something with her life.
Team members got to know this mature young girl, and as she moved through the sponsorship program, the growth and blossoming was amazing to watch. Merline is now 18 years old and progressing in school. She's hungry for knowledge and her future is bright. But she is only where she is because of this organization's work in this rural, isolated region. Her family, and one day the family she will have of her own, is breaking the cycle of just trying to find food. This girl hasn't been as lucky as Merline. We want to introduce you to Mylène, a 15-year-old at an orphanage called Bon Bolger. Mylène's mother died of cholera when she was 13. Her father passed away shortly after from unknown causes. Her aunt, the next living kin, dropped her off at the orphanage 2 years ago and hasn't seen her since. Mylène is getting close to aging out of the orphanage, and when that happens, she will be on the streets, eventually being swept up into sex slavery. Haiti, unfortunately, is ranked high in the Global Slavery Index for abuse of children. This girl is in danger of never having a life and living in the darkest place imaginable.
We had heard some of Mylène's story and about what happened, how her mother and father passed away. And I wanted to get to know her a little better and see, if there was something that we could do for her. And when I sat down with her, as soon as I mentioned her mother and father, she just fell apart. The tears just ran down her face, and she buried her head in her skirt, and she just sobbed. And this little girl who is normally so composed, you just saw this massive reservoir of pain and this sense of abandonment inside her.
In this region, there are countless other cases of children just like Mylène that are at risk of being released into a dark world where mistreatment, sexual abuse, and violence are common. How can we attack such an overwhelming problem? How do we find and protect the most vulnerable kids? A problem like this in Haiti is a slow, painful process weaving through complex relationships and culture. We won't be able to identify all of the at-risk kids in this region and help them, but we can help 12, and then another 12, and another 12 after that. And we won't give up. It's expensive and hard, but the future of this region is in the children. The more we can reach, the brighter it will be. And what about Mylène? We want you to know that we have her. She is at the top of the list and will be in the first wave of children living in the brand new Village of Hope Orphanage campus.
So when I sat down with Mylène, I described what we were creating at the Village of Hope, our new orphanage, and I asked her if she would like to come and live there. And I could tell she felt pretty good about it, but she holds herself back a little bit. And so I said to Felix, how do you think she feels about this? And he looked at me and he said, she's really excited.
The week we were there filming this story, we showed Mylène her new home.
And Vika choisit, tell her she can choose any bed she wants.
Choisis n'importe quelle cabane, que ce soit, les choisis.
Tell her she can think about it. She doesn't have to choose fast.
Yeah, pensez. Vous aimez ça? Appuyez tête tout, quand tu couches sous oreiller.
Then, her 11 house sisters were led into the house for the first time. From now, we expect to catch up to Mylène in town and see a young woman who's proud of who she has become and living the life God intended for her. She'll be well-fed, clothed, and educated with a promising future. But this isn't where the story ends. It's where it begins.